everybody. My name is Joanne Shango. I am the head of school at the Montessori School Rochester. I'm also a consultant in Montessori education. I travel around the country and I speak at different conventions and schools, offering professional development in Montessori leadership and early childhood education, as well as elementary and adolescence. Montessori has been my passion for the past 28 years. It has made a huge impact on my life, and I truly believe that who I am today has to do with discovering Montessori when I was a young 18-year-old years and years ago, just getting ready to graduate and embark on a new journey at the University of Michigan. My experience with Montessori education, as I think you all know, over the past few weeks during our sessions, I've talked about the importance of social and emotional development in children, and it is that social and emotional development, the fact that children are respected, they're seen, and they're heard, while an intense love guides the child through the hands and direction of the adult. It was extraordinary and profound to me and has been a major component in my life, recognizing that my voice, as young as I was at the time, was valuable and heard, changed the confidence I had in myself, and I believe has molded me into the person I am today. My ability to speak to you and to others does not come naturally in real life. I probably have more insecurities and feel, I prefer quiet and alone time. That being said, I am very comfortable now sharing my thoughts because I got to witness the power of that with children in the youngest of classrooms 28 years ago and in all of the years since. I'm here today to talk again about emotions and feelings. I know we've discussed this in the past. I do believe that this is the foundation that we all need to focus on in raising our children as a community, as a village. Without a strong social and emotional foundation, our children grow up with insecurities. They grow up with fears. They grow up with doubts in themselves. And we don't want that for them. Everyone has their own strengths. We celebrate their differences. And the child should also celebrate those. So our focus is always in our communication on that social and emotional development. That being said, children don't always know what they're feeling. It was a very emotional day yesterday, and just things started falling into place in regards to what I was going to discuss with you today, which started first with a text I received from my son at 11:37 p.m. last night. I was downstairs, snuggled on my favorite chair, reading and alternating between reading and doing some work for the Global Montessori Network that I'm a founder of, as well as some other programs that I've been working on, and reading. And I go back and forth between the two in my nighttime hours where I'm alone. So receiving that text at 11:37 p.m. from my son, as you can imagine, threw up some red flags for me. I went up to him immediately to see what was going on. And he said, "I'm so angry. And I don't know why I'm angry." I tried to let out my anger with exercise, so I just exercised a lot. I was using my, I think it's called a punching bag, and doing other exercises. And I'm actually more angry now because now I'm angry at myself. I don't have any reason to be angry, so I'm angry at myself for being angry. And I thought, whoa, these are a lot of feelings and pretty strong ones. And he's expressed that he was frustrated or angry a few weeks ago, but it really did look like it was getting a lot better. He was happy, he was social with all of us. He was really holding himself together well, and I looked at his behaviors over the past few weeks and I was comfortable and confident that he was more than coping emotionally. And then this came up last night. On top of that, in the morning I woke up and on Facebook I saw a message from a Facebook friend. Her daughter and mine figure skate together. She has a few, I think she has 3 daughters. I could be incorrect on that. And she was talking about her daughter that was graduating high school. And what she said was last night was the honors convocation for their senior class at the local high school in Rochester. And her daughter started crying. And she had thought that her daughter was really coping very well. Her daughter was the happy-go-lucky mainstay, feeling confident. It didn't seem like all of the changes to the end of her senior year had affected her. And then her daughter started crying, and she saw a window into her daughter's heart and soul. That broke her heart. As I was reading her post, and it was a short post, I started crying. Reminded me of my son the night before and of all of you. We as adults are doing our best to cope, and I'm sure if you're anything like me, you've had days where you're up and days where you're down in all of this situation, and there's no real reason, as my son said, why one day feels more down and another day feels more positive and confident, like there's a purpose and a goal and a direction, so that we can work through and come on top of all of this when life starts to slowly shift into a normal that is comfortable for everybody. These feelings are natural for us, and I think we're better able to cope and understand that it is the culmination of everything that just brings you down every once in a while, and it is our strength and our emotional intelligence that brings us back up and helps us work through the feelings and get to the other side. Our young children, whether they're adolescents or they're elementary age children or toddlers and preschoolers, do not have that high of an emotional intelligence. They're still in the working and development of their emotional intelligence. It is a work in progress, and they can try to be strong. Some of them express their emotions in a strength and I'm going to be happy and I'm going to keep everybody happy around me so that all of this uncertainty doesn't feel so bad. That doesn't mean that they're not feeling the uncertainty, and that doesn't mean that they're not feeling profound sadness or anger. As the conversation with my son unfolded last night, he had worked out. He is an adolescent, and I'm going to tell you he was stinky. He no longer has that sweet little boy stink of sweat. He stunk. It's that adolescent hormonal sweat smell, and I was teasing him and said the fact that I was hugging him should be shown as a measure of how strong my love for him is, because it was stinky. But I asked him if he wanted a hug, and he said yes. And this big kid that's taller than me and has a broad back and is just really growing into a young man curled up against my chest and just took comfort. So I spoke to him and I explained that the feelings are okay. And this is the part that I want you guys to hear. Your children are feeling things, and it is okay to feel different types of negative emotions. In fact, it's important to recognize and validate that children feel all different forms of emotions. What isn't okay is expressing those emotions in negative ways that harm themselves or others. That is not to say that they shouldn't be feeling frustrated, that they shouldn't be feeling angry. And I really implore you to hear this. It's very important to validate and say, I hear you. I see that you're feeling sad, or I see that you're feeling angry. versus, honey, there's no need to be sad or there's no need to be angry, because that devalues their feelings and makes them perhaps feel that their feelings are wrong. And it was very important for my son and for my friend's daughter and for all of your children to be able to hear, I understand why you're feeling that way. I also commended my son, and I let him know I was really proud of him for being able to manage his feelings. And he said, but I shouldn't be angry. He just kept saying that. There was nothing that made me angry today. I was going to sleep and I was thinking and I just got angry, and then I got angrier that I was angry. And so I shared with him my feelings. Last week I was feeling down. Last week I was feeling uncertain. I was worried. I was sad. And through navigating my own feelings, I ended up finding new purpose and direction so that my outlook for myself, for my family, for my friends, for my school could be positive. And through my feelings, a direction formed, and I no longer felt hopeless. It wasn't that I was trying to hide the feelings and just say, everything's fine, I'm healthy, I'm happy. It's more than that. It's really more than that. And so sharing that with him and letting him know for no reason last week, for no reason, nothing specific happened to cause an emotion in that moment. I have the maturity, the emotional maturity to understand that. He doesn't. To explain to him that I too go through that. His father goes through that. All adults, all humans go through that at times, and we deal with those emotions, and that I was proud of him in the way that he dealt with them. I was proud that he focused that those excess emotions and channeled them into exercise of some form, and that he called me and let me know he just needed somebody to talk to. There's so much potential in his emotional growth and his maturity that he was able to do that. And so he hugged me a little bit more, and then he went to bed and was certain he was going to wake up early and feel focused and take a shower at 6 a.m. and go for a run and blah, blah, blah. Truthfully, he woke up at 11, and which made more sense for the time he finally went to bed. But it was important for him to navigate his feelings in a positive way that allowed for growth instead of for harm. And that conversation that you have with your children when they are feeling that way is very important. What further had me convinced that this was a conversation I needed to address again was I was navigating and saw a podcast from NPR that said, I'm going to pull it up for a minute. This was this morning, and it said, with school buildings closed, children's mental health is suffering. Schools are so much more than the academics that are measured. What our guides here at the Montessori School Rochester do, what guides in Montessori schools all over the world do, what teachers and guides in traditional schools, public schools, private schools, all over Michigan, all over our country, all over the world do, is so much greater than the academics that are measured. We love your children. We provide a safe and nourishing environment for your children to grow into themselves, to begin to recognize their potential, to be inspired, to learn to communicate with each other and with classmates and with peers, some younger and some older, particularly in a Montessori community where it's a multi-age classroom. That social and emotional development and the skills, particularly of a Montessori guide that focuses on the social and emotional development of your child before the academic, for all of the teachers out there that focus on social and emotional learning as content in their curriculum for their classrooms, for their children. We recognize how much more children are getting and what they're actually missing when they're not in the school building. My daughter, who is a wonderfully intuitive, intelligent, and emotional, sensitive little girl, young lady, she's 14, she just shouted out yesterday, "I miss my friends. I need to socialize." And I thought, yeah, it's true information. You need to socialize. There is a need for our children. They're developing social skills. Our adolescents are learning how to move from childhood into adulthood, and so much of that has to do with forming communities and practicing social skills with each other and learning to respect and rely on each other for their unique gifts and their abilities while learning from each other to develop their own. And they don't have that right now, and they don't always know how to communicate it. As my friend had posted on her Facebook today, her daughter seemed like she was doing fine. She was the happy-go-lucky. Everything seemed okay. Every time she did her due diligence and spoke with her daughter about how she was doing, her daughter was positive. And then at a big moment in their life, her honors convocation, being on a screen and seeing and feeling in a unique way, it was a punch that let all the emotions that she may not have even known were stored inside out. And we have to recognize that so that we can protect our children throughout this time. They are experiencing emotions, whether they've become more introspective, whether they've become more jubilant and positive, whether they have become more frustrated or angry or contentious. Their emotions that they're feeling, the loss of social contact with their peers and with their guides and teachers whom they've developed relationships of trust and comfort, is all missing. And it's not just the sense of loss. There is an important These are important relationships in their development, equally, if not more so, than the academic development that they may be missing. That's nothing to worry about. The fourth thing that came up this morning that was tied to this was a post by my son's really phenomenal teacher. Miss Maddie is this young, talk about intuitive, exceptional guide in our elementary school here at the Montessori School, Rochester. She's just exquisite. And we were talking yesterday about how do we write their progress reports. Our observations and our assessments really ended in mid-March, and she was concerned about how she was going to express that while helping parents to understand that it's okay. And this post that she shared came from another teacher. It's a meme of sorts, if you will. And it's been going around for quite a few weeks on social media sites. But she posted it as a reminder to all of us, parents and team members with her. And it said, "Dear parents," I'm sure many of you have read this, but I really want you to listen to the words. "Don't stress about schoolwork. In September, I will get your children back on track. I am a guide or teacher, and that's my superpower. What I can't fix is social emotional trauma that prevents your child's brain from learning. So right now, I just need you to share your calm, share your strength, and share your laughter with your children. No kids are ahead, and no kids are behind. Your children are exactly where they need to be. The focus is in that statement that we don't have to worry about these 2 months or 3 months of the lack of academic. Hi, Miss Judy. How are you? I am. I'm on Facebook Live. One of our great guides is at the doorway. She's not coming in, but she's preparing her classroom to send things home for our children. And it's such a pleasure. At least we can see each other's faces, even if we can't come close to each other. But as I was talking about that, the academic development, as teachers and guides, we can do a lot in providing them with content. But it's not really our focus. Here at the Montessori School Rochester, from the very first day that we realized we were going to need to figure out a virtual learning, a distance learning platform, the first thing we said was we have to figure out how to remove the distance from distance learning, because we recognized that the kids still needed us. They didn't need a screen. They didn't need academics. They needed the connection and the security of that connection so that we, along with their parents, can continue to provide them with reassurance so they could still feel strong, they could still feel confident, they can still express themselves, they can still share, they can still feel trust, they can still feel safety. Those were the most important things. That's why we kept saying we're removing the distance from distance learning. We are still here for you. We're not just here for the academics. It is, at the end of the day, the least important part. Over the next few years, these 2 months will be a blip. Our teachers and guides out there, they are superstars. They are superheroes. They're going to fill the gaps. If they could, in such a short period of time, switch and create an entire new model that maybe looks different for each school in just a matter of days, then for sure, they, along with their administrators, are planning for how we put these 2 months of academic content into the curriculum next year. You don't have to worry about that. What we do want to worry about is the emotions that are being bottled up inside. I don't know, are we on the 5th or the 6th thing that caused me to think about this discussion and repeating it today, even though I know we've discussed it in many forms, directly and indirectly over the past few weeks, was a conversation I had with my chiropractor. Dr. Anna Saylor is a chiropractor in Royal Oak, Michigan. Their practice really focuses on overall health and well-being and practices a form of chiropractic that is very non-invasive. It focuses on the physical and emotional health of children, which they specialize in, as well as all adults and people. They use a different technique called KST, which gently taps the body into better health. And what she shared with me yesterday we had an adjustment, my children and I, yesterday, as we focus on our own well health. And she had just shared, and it was a blip, but as I thought about it today, in all of the conversations, as I shed tears reading my friend's social media post and thought about my son, I thought about something she had said yesterday that didn't overly register with me yesterday, but in everything I was dealing with this morning, it really further confirmed how important all of this emotional concentration and understanding of emotions that are being expressed. And she said, over the past week, she had a lot of her patients coming through and just saying, it's getting to me now. It's the length of time that we've been living with this uncertainty, with the fear of the unknown, with an anxiousness about what our lives are going to look like following this pandemic, what our economic stability is going to be, what our social lives are going to be, how schools are going to look in the summer and the fall, so many things. And people were staying strong. They wanted to help the situation and felt positive about what they were doing, but somehow after these 8-10 weeks, I think it's been now, have gone on, it started to get to people. So people that were exhibiting strength started to feel down, started to feel more anxious, started to feel frustrated, started to feel more uncertain. And so that had just been culminating, and I thought, yes, even as adults we're feeling this. And I just can't stress enough. As adults, we have 30, 40, 50, 70, 80 years of life experience to develop our ability to handle our emotions, and still they get the better of us. Our young children don't understand all their emotions, don't have all of the tools to navigate their emotions, to express their emotions. They don't have the maturity to understand where or how emotions come. Where do they come from? As my son said, I had nothing to be angry about, but I feel angry right now. But nothing had happened, because that's how children, right? They see things, right? Cause and effect. This happened, I was sad. This happened, I was happy. This happened, I was frustrated, right? These kind of deeper emotions that spring from a well of experiences, those are harder for children to understand, and they're going to be exhibited in different ways. It is up to us not necessarily to ask the questions like, do you feel angry today? How are you feeling? Because they don't know. But it is up to us to be more honest about emotions and to take more care in what they may or may not be expressing, to look a little bit deeper, rather than just feeling security like, hey, my kid's doing great, they're happy. Like, that's a load off because there's so many other things on our plates. Instead, look for those quiet moments, the overly happy, or maybe just a little bit too secure right now. And I know we're offering them security, but know that there are the same kind of feelings you're having and navigating yourself through occurring inside of our children, and be honest and open about the validity of their feelings while giving them the tools or the acknowledgement that they used tools successfully to express their emotions and heal from them to get to the other side with purpose. There's a movie, and I think it's a Pixar movie, and I'm going to look it up real quickly, but I'm going to end with this, and I meant to look it up and I didn't. The character's name was Joy, and it's coming up right now. Inside Out. I loved that movie. I'm so surprised it didn't get acclaim. It came out years ago. I don't remember what year it came out. 2015, so 5 years ago. And it was all about the feeling of joy. Joy was the only feeling this little girl was predominantly experiencing. That was the focus on what her mother was focusing on, but the other feelings kept fighting inside of her. They needed to have a voice. And Joy, who appeared like everything was going fine, they'd had some major changes, but it showed the roller coaster of emotion. They really used that to great effect. But when sadness would creep in and say, my emotions are valid, anger, who was always shut up, was saying, she needs me right now. And the little girl ended up running away with this journey. So there's the little girl, and she's kind of like the sub-character, because it's the emotions have their own character in this movie, each emotion. And my daughter, who, if this was 5 years ago, she was about 9, she turned to me in the middle of the movie when sadness finally took hold of the character, and she said, I feel that way sometimes. And she was crying, and I was crying, and I looked at her and I thought, I know she was a sensitive girl, but I never would have guessed that sometimes she felt so exquisitely sad and so exquisitely uncertain of the direction our lives were going that sometimes she thought about not actively running away but had those thoughts. And that movie was so important. She cried and I cried. We're in the movie theater, and so I'm holding her and I said, do you want to go? Because of course we want to protect, right? From feelings that are too intense or too sad. We don't want our children sad. We don't want them angry. We don't want them frustrated. We don't want them feeling anxious. We want joyful, happy children. Except we do have to recognize all the feelings are important. And my daughter watching this movie said, no, it feels good. And I thought, oh. And it felt good for her to be able to share it with me and to see that it was valid emotions, and to see that in that movie as the other emotions stood up for themselves and said, she needs to feel these so that she can be okay. Being okay isn't the absence of sadness. It isn't the absence of anger or frustration. It is the ability to navigate through those feelings with purpose so that joy can indeed be the predominant, but it can't live alone. The other emotions are there. Be aware of them so that you and your children can stay safe, can stay well, and can stay healthy. And I mentioned Dr. Anna Saylor. If you are in Michigan, if you are in Royal Oak, the Van Every Family Clinic, Chiropractic Center, the Van Every Chiropractic Center in Royal Oak is a great place to go. The emotional well health as well as the physical well health of our children and of ourselves is the primary focus of Dr. Anna Saylor and her team there, and really helps. It keeps our family healthy, happy, and sane, and it's always a great experience that is very non-invasive. So I do recommend adding that to your regimen of maintaining a happy, healthy lifestyle now during this time of uncertainty and into the future. Her focus is very similar to ours here at the Montessori School Rochester in focusing on the social and emotional well-being of our children. We do it exceptionally well here at the Montessori School Rochester, and we work in partnership with Dr. Anna Saylor often for those same results for all of our students and for all of my friends and family and their children. Thank you very much. Stay well, stay healthy, and stay safe. We miss you and we love you. I hope this helped, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye, everybody.